Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Carl Svensson, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. It is
We're
later
doing all
where
right.
you're at, right? You're
Yes.
in Poland right now? Is that it?
Yes, I am in Poland. I am normally nowadays most of the time in China because I found that Chinese traditional medicine and what we are doing, it is more close than to let's say the Western medicine, which John Rockefeller invented in 1910. He
Wow.
copied the Germans, with aspirin. That was his whole idea to create the Western medicine, which is not really based on science. It's based on fossil fuels, as you know, because it's synthetics.
Yeah, so that's a hell of a way to start out the conversation. I love that.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Yeah, no. So what's different in China then? How's that different there?
Yeah, China nowadays, it's let's say dual directions. Western commercialism is pushing out the traditional Chinese medicine, but 3,000-4,000 years ago, the Chinese knew that we are made of energy, and the Western medicine, they found out that let's say we are made of dollar bills, which is necessary to pick up.
Right. Can't measure that as easily.
No.
Well, actually, that's not true. You can. You could just look at their bank account. But yeah,
That's very true.
So I believe you understand my skepticism, but I'll tell you, I have tried the best during all years, because I was also, let's say, sort of brainwashed with this, that Western medicine, well, that is the true medicine. But to be honest, in our operations, we have to ask all people to leave the synthetic medicine, so-called medicines, behind, because if they take it, we can't cure people. Because it's practically only to sweep symptoms under the carpet.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what is your tech doing? What is your device helping with? Because I think that'll frame it a little better.
Try to summarize my journey now in just a few minutes here. It won't be possible. First of all,
well, take your time. We got time.
Okay, but I mean, generally, we have two philosophies of what we are, what is this world, and so on. We have the Newton world. You remember in school, we learned us everything. A kilogram is so and so much. It is an exploit in an exhibition in Paris, and that said it's 1 kilogram. But what people don't know is that they had to change now in secrecy, more or less. They have changed now that 1 kilogram is not that kilogram. Instead, it is a formula, and it is, you can say, it is as part of energy from the universe now. There is a special equation which is telling what is 1 kilogram. And it means that the real 1 kilogram, which is in Paris, is, in my opinion, more or less now not accurate, because the calculation equation, which is based, of course, initially from Einstein and so on, and Niels Bohr in Copenhagen, and that's called quantum physics. And I happened through NASA contacts when they ended the space ferry in 2011. I just, by coincidence, I don't know if God put me there and so on, but I just found out that, to my surprise, that the world is not the one we think it is. And that made me, I started before that. I studied because I had a car accident, and I happened to meet with a medical doctor. He was an old Polish military doctor, but he went to the US, and he was, let's say, transferred into, let's say, holistic medicine. And he was just a believer, and he told me that this is the true way how to cure people. And so that's how my journey started. First, that I became interested into the holistic medicine, and I started to study medicine. I've studied in the US, in India, and in China mainly. And then when I met these people, ex-people, because we made a joint venture in Fort Lauderdale, and we started to work with DARPA and things like that. It's a long story, but anyhow, it opened my mind that the true medicine, it is what NASA and the Russians and Chinese are using in space, but it's more or less not available for normal people because there is no money in this.
Yeah.
And this professor, I met a professor from Orlando who was involved there. He didn't present me exactly, but he was involved into this whole space medicine in Cape Canaveral and so on. And he told me, he said like this. I said, why? I was shocked about the effects here, and why is this not a normal medicine? And he was laughing and said, look, if this will be the normal medical care, the United States will go bankrupt. Because as you know, what is giving all these deficits in the payment balance and so on, it's generally medical care. It's such a big business that the whole United States will go bankrupt if you would just cancel it and go for quantum medicine overnight. So, my conviction is that, it's just a matter of money. Everything from hospitals, medical doctors, pharmaceutical industry, you mentioned it, everything. That is just a matter of money. And the secret is, how do you sweep problems like cancer and so on? How do you sweep it under the carpet so people believe that it is cure? And for me nowadays, I am so total into this quantum medicine world that, for me, it's just ridiculous what they are doing. Because if you take, all this with chemotherapy and all that stuff, the only thing which cures people is you get so sick that you stop eating. And, fasting is what is curing people from cancer. So, why, of course, the whole system is dependent on you sell for $10,000 or $100,000 of dollars. You sell a lot of stuff. You make people very sick. And then people believe that all those remedies, so-called remedies, or I would use another name, but it's too vulgar. But,
it is called the Reverend Health. You can say whatever you feel like you're going to say. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's no filter here.
In the Wild West, you call those snake oil
salesmen.
Salesmen, right? And if you go into Wikipedia and so on, they have some more sophisticated Latin-based wording for these things. So, but let's leave that. Anyhow, the thing is, to my surprise is, after working now with this 15 years, more or less, is that I have to ask everyone, each patient, to kindly stop, and we give them a program how they will go off their medications, their synthetic medications. And it is a must, because we can't cure them otherwise.
So you're saying if you're on a medication, that's actually going to interfere with any of the quantum health treatment. Is that what you're saying?
It's normally it's blocking.
Okay.
So what if it's something like a diabetic medication or insulin or something that
very good example. Do you? I understand. You understand it like this, like all others. That people think that insulin is a cure. No, it's the contrary. Because what is insulin doing? It's pacifying your Langerhans cells in your pancreas.
Pancreas, yeah.
And you know, it's making people even more sick, because it's making, if they get insulin all the time, you know, from outside, with syringes and or tablets and so on, you know, then it's pacifying. It's making your the cells producing insulin, to making them shrink, and your pancreas is going to be less active.
Okay, I'll buy that for type 2, but what about type 1, where they've never...
Type 1, it's sitting, you know, it's called the pituitary gland. It's sitting down here, way inside in the lower part. It's called hypothalamus. Hypothalamus in English, better to say. I'm using, you know, many languages in medicine.
That's okay.
We know what you're talking about.
I'm just in Poland, so we say hypo, but hypothalamus. So, I mean, and you know, that is, people think, people are born, they think it's a genetical problem and so on. It's not. It's just, if people have it, you know, from the diabetes one, if they have it from their newborn, it means they got it from their mother because of pure nutrition, wrong nutrition. I mean, she was damaged already, and you know, the child is one with her mother, with everything before released, you know, after birth, before birth, I mean. So the thing is that more or less it's the same thing, but we have to have different methods of curing it. So what we need, we have to repair the pituitary gland, and that you have an anterior, and you have then a small place, a very dangerous place, you can get cancer in between, and you have the posterior, I think we say in English, part of the pituitary gland, or it's called also endocrine gland. And so it's a little bit different cure, but you know, we found out that it's no problem. We can cure both. It's just a little bit different. And you know, you are taught that generally in the world, you are taught that diabetes 1 you can't cure. It's wrong, totally wrong. It's just another.
You're not the only person that's actually said that, and I've actually had a couple different conversations with a couple different people that have said this, and I guess there's two things that keep coming to mind every time I have this conversation. One is money or not. Like, why the absolute hell are we not like circulating
why is this on the front page of every newspaper?
Right. Yeah. But again, it's just not the doctor, right? Like, we had this conversation with our friend like at breakfast not too long ago, and he said the same thing. Chinese are now curing it through stem cells. I mean, it looks like there's a bunch of ways to actually do this. But I guess, is it as simple as what you were saying earlier, Doc, about like, it's just a money function? Like, that's it? Like, I mean, if we cure diabetes, we lose trillions of dollars. So like, is that...
Yeah, I mean, I am absolutely convinced, and you know, I am now on my way to get a PhD any day here, and I've made a lot of research.
Congratulations!
Yeah, that's exciting.
Well, you can congratulate me. I was supposed to pick it up already now in June, but they put such laboratory requirements on me, and you know, I cannot push our patients. And sorry, I have to turn off my phone.
That's okay.
I cannot, you know, push a lot of people, you know, which are supposed to be present during all those clinical trials and so on. So, but I hope to have it in my hand now in October. So,
what's it in, by the way? What are you pursuing?
I mean, it's. I mean, it is quantum medicine. Let's say the university is Quantum University in Honolulu.
Okay. Oh yeah, I think you and I talked about this last time we spoke. I looked that up. I was really impressed to find out there is actually such a program at all. Like it, so it looks like it's not a secret.
No, I mean, you know, there are 2 quantum universities in this world, which I know. Maybe there are some others. I thought I had turned off my telephone. But I have to
people
do
can't just call once anymore. They got to call like 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I don't know why you keep hanging up on me.
Yeah.
I have to do it a little bit better to turn off now. I think.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I mean, there is now, after these guys were the first one, the boss, let's say, he's a Canadian guy, and they have been around, I think, some 25 years or maybe more. And there is another quantum university now in India. I was studying in another institution in Calcutta, and it's a long story, but anyhow, it's coming more and more. And I heard now that someone wants to change or invent the name Quantum University on the mainland of the US as well. So it's coming. But to tell you the truth, to jump from one thing to the other, the thing is that these universities, they are not really catching up with the whole process now, developments in this whole area, with AI and things like that. It goes so much faster. I think if you follow now how conclusions about the universe and how it's functioning, it's changes more or less daily. It's coming new news. So it's hard to say. We are based on the philosophy, generally the Einstein and Niels Bohr. I mean, they were the founders of this whole idea. But as Niels Bohr said, he said, if you think you know what is quantum physics or quantum mechanics, then it shows just that you don't understand anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has been a theory, but, that theory is working because there are many Germans, like Schrödinger and so on. They were proving, and they made coefficients, mathematical coefficients, and it works. And who cares if it works? And, we are curing patients using this. And why should I care about if we have some sort of physical proof, new, let's say, rules, etc., which are cancelling the old Newton way of equations and conclusions? I mean, that's for those people who like that. They can work with that. For me, it's important that the whole theory is working. And I can assure you, we are able to implement this, and we even offer, if we can't cure a person and he's doing exactly what we are telling him, we pay all the money back. It's a full money back guarantee that you get cured.
So you said a couple things I want to unpack here real quick, just because I think there's a lot going on in there. First of all, I'm in the process of doing this with your technology, so I don't really have firsthand experience. I know we had some power outage issues and whatnot, so that scheduling was really the biggest reason there. I'm excited to keep playing with it, but basically this part seems to be like the initial. I guess where I'm getting at is the order of operations. This first part that we're in is sort of like the diagnostic phase, right? Like create a baseline. I know I have to give you hair and fingernails and saliva and blood and touch it against my skin. So a bunch of stuff. And then from there, you're using terms like Newtonian and Einsteinian and stuff. Like, walk me through sort of the connection, because those are terms that I think
how do you get from the physical stuff to the quantum stuff? I
think a lot of people might be more familiar with those terms in relationship to math and not necessarily health.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing, that we are used to think that we are a machine, more or less. Everything works together like the Newton principles. You have some gears and they are running a whole machinery. But first of all, we know already, it's proven also by the physical rules of today, it's proven that we are not a physical person. We are consisting of about 75 trillion cells. And in school, we don't learn that everything in each somatic cell is always the same all over our bodies. So it means, each cell of those 75 trillion, that's an individual. But, they all copy and have the same, let's say, DNA blueprint, because we have something which is nowadays, you call it either that it is subconscious mind or conscious mind. Subconscious mind, people are discussing what it is. You can read a lot of articles all the time about now that, generally, in religion, you say that you are always alive, that your soul is always there. And, they are pretty close. Now religion, a lot of religions, and the real science is getting closer and closer. Because, the subconscious mind, which is the universe mind, let's say, that is what is giving through what you probably remember with this whole stupidities with the COVID and so on, ridiculous stuff about RNA vaccines and so on. It's just a witch art. We know that the RNA, that is a signaling which comes from something undefined. We call it subconscious mind. Let's say that we call it that it's a sort of connection to the universe. Let's not go too deep into it, because there are thousands or millions of different theories how it's working. Like the old Tesla, he had some ideas about ether, maybe, or ether, this secret power and so on. But let's not get too deep into it. But let's work on things we know. We know that from brain, call it whatever you want, subconscious mind and so on. We know that there are signaling which is updating our DNA, and it's updating all over our bodies identically everywhere. And then people thought, that DNA are governing. It's not that. So, and generally all the so-called dogmas of the Western medicine and so on, they are based on these things. But, DNA is just a effect of a signaling, which you can discuss. Let's say it goes through the subconscious mind, and it's supposed to all the time correct the DNA. And what is DNA? DNA is a lot of thin threads of amino acids. And if you want to know more, then the best scientist in the world, his name is Dr. Bruce Lipton. He was a professor, teacher at Stanford until the big pharmaceutical companies forced them to throw him out. And he went in, let's say, exile, and he's living in Christchurch in New Zealand now.
I'm trying to get. We reached out. I'm trying to get him on the show. I'd love to talk to him about his work, because I like his work a lot, and I would be very excited to talk to him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He's also engaged, in Quantum University, and let's say a top sort of mentor for what I'm doing there. But I'm not directly, let's say, in contact with him. But he's a sort of directing, trying to direct, let's say, the university to stay on the right track. Anyhow, this whole thing, how it works in our bodies, it's manipulated. And it says, Dr. Bruce Lipton is saying, what they are doing, the Western medicine, what they are doing, that is something, you talk about religion, that it's dogma. So he's saying, what they say about this whole medicine, that's dogma, because there is no science behind. That in medicine, they've figured out something to try to prove that it sounds like science. They say evidence-based. Do you know how many hundreds of thousands of so-called evidence-based research which has been proven as faked in the United States? No. It's more than 90% which are faked.
Oh, wow.
And they get through with this. I mean, you can read about, you can search on the internet, you can find out the exact figures. At one company, I remember, they found 22,000 fake research reports. I mean, that's a normal. The normal way is that you fake it, but then you make it to sound nice and call it evidence-based. It's when I have been digging into this, and what I'm telling you now, I have to be afraid of my, let's say, well-being and so on, because I mean, we are getting more and more proofs now about how everything is fake. It's such terrible, and people don't understand it.
Well, I think there's a growing acceptance of that fact with people, like, for sure, Tom and I think, have had this conversation many times about, like, the veracity of most of these studies is dubious at best, and whether it's a massage of details of sample size or a massage of the outcome, like, it just seems to be like there's a million ways to massage things and dress it up as evidence.
Yeah. I'm not interested in politics and so on, but I'll tell you one thing which has impressed me, and it is Bobby Kennedy now.
Yeah, he goes to one
you
way or the
fucking
other.
Lost me right there.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. He goes one way or the other for me. I'll be honest. And
I'm not a fan.
Tom's not a fan, and I think 50% of what he says is absolutely bullshit, and the other 50% is fine enough to explore.
Well, I mean, some of the stuff like cleaning up the food now, but he works for a guy who's all about money, and they're not going to take down billion-dollar corporations, and I think that's a pipe dream.
I mean, we know that it's always play a game in politics. I don't trust in any politicians, but at least one guy now. I mean, he has gone through himself a lot of things. I know a friend of mine. He's a multi-billionaire, and in some companies he was in the board and so on. And I've not talked to him, but anyhow, he has got very damaged, by the traditional medicine. He can hardly speak and so on. And of course, it's mistakes they have done. And, person, if I would have been treated, let's say if I had stayed in the Western medicine, I had been crippled today because I had a car accident on the 31st of January 1995, and I almost lost my life. And if I didn't had the opportunity, maybe it was God or whoever who made me to meet a holistic medical doctor who was trained in the US, and he told me he will cure me. And I was so naive, and I believed in him, and I made a right choice because he cured me. I've never been as healthy today. I am 79 years old, and my biologic age, it's below 50. And I am running faster today than I did when I was 50.
Wow. So, well, I mean, you tapped into something though. Like, I know, like, Lipton had that book, Biology of Belief and stuff, like, and you've got these things that really tap into that whole placebo effect. And I think we've had this conversation here too, that like chemotherapy's got a very low overall
success
efficacy rate, but placebo is like double that, right? So like, well, wouldn't it make sense to just somehow convince yourself that the chemo is working? Now you get double the chances on the.
I mean, we see this in Japan. If somebody has a cancer diagnosis, they have a surrogate almost that they'll tell the person. They'll say, "Oh, we're going to tell this person. We're going to call them. This is the person we're going to tell if you have cancer." And then that person has to decide what kind of person the person with cancer is. Are they a fighter or are they not? We're not going to tell them the outcome. We're not going to tell them what they have, just to make sure, like, if they can mentally get themselves out of this, that's what we're going to use, rather than just saying, hey, you have cancer and here's the possibility of you surviving this. So it's an interesting way of looking at it. Like, how much can the mind do, and how at least the Japanese doctors don't want that to be affected, like in a negative way.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I do think it's funny that like we have really low success rates, but that's kind of what the expression is to man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That's what we're doing. Everybody gets the same treatment. This is what we do for this, and we're not individualizing it. But, I mean, at the same time, I think there's so many hurdles to even looking at what you're talking about, and you're absolutely right. It's money based.
I mean, it's scaring. I'm working. I'm even, working as a secret teacher. Here, I cannot sell too much, but there is an institution here. It's called Madame Curie Institute. She got a Nobel Prize many years ago. She was a Polish scientist, and they are working a lot with different new ideas, oncological and ideas, and they are coming to me because I find some ideas pretty good and so on, which are, let's say, on the line with my philosophy that you are using the nature to cure. And but they are coming to me. They are scared, to tell, and they want me to teach them about holistic medicine. But they are scared to tell that to others, that they are interested in this because they are afraid to lose their license, and they will be on the street. They will be nobody.
Yeah. So, and that makes sense.
So, but what I wanted to tell here basically is that there are some things. I can give you some examples. You have Bristol Myers and you have Merck. They bought from the Japanese many years ago. The Japanese patented, and they initially were selling for about $50 per injections that you could inject a so-called immunotherapy, that you are strengthening your T cells to fight cancer. And it is pretty good with melanoma and a lot of others, difficult with lung cancer and so on. But generally, we know roughly how to do it. But, the Japanese charge $50. When I started to work with these guys here, it costed each month. It was initially twice per month, and the cost was $14,000 per drop injection. And I mean, this is the terrible thing, that sometimes they are picking up the right stuff. But what they have done now? They have Keytruda is the Merck trade name, and the other, but Bristol Myers is Opdivo. And now a lot of other companies, they try to get their stuff approved. But, their strong economic situation, so it's more or less blocking that you don't get other competition.
Yeah.
And you will see, their patent is probably ending at the end of this decade, something like that. You will see then what will happen. Of course, then they will figure out a new patent. But, this whole area now, it will be flooded with this. And then you can ask about how is it to be in line with humanity here. I mean, they are more or less blocking. They are charging. You can take a calculator and see the difference between $50.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you can find. I mean, it's only for money. And the Japanese, they had invented this a long time ago, and it is a sort of the basic stuff inside. I've been looking at it, and at the university we looked at it as well. And we found out that, it's more or less natural. I mean, that has gone back before 1910 and John Rockefeller invented synthetic medicine. But it's very few, and they do it, and they go in when they can block the market. And they can take a sort of oligopoly, these two companies, and squeeze out enormous fortunes. So
that story is very familiar, though, because I have a colleague that just this year, 2025, had finally decided to take care of a hepatitis C infection, and they have those DAAs, and I think it's Epclusa and what's the other, Mavorite or something like that, or I don't remember offhand. But in the United States, it's like $100,000, $110,000 for the 8-week, 12-week treatment. He flew to Mexico, stayed at a Four Seasons, went to a pharmacy himself. Mexican laws let him. You have to pick it up yourself. You walk in
and go get it. Yeah,
you walk in and go get it, and then legally you come back into the United States with it. Do you know how much it was in Mexico for the whole 12-week thing? $1,200. $1,200 versus $110,000.
And they got a vacation out.
And they got to stay at the Four Seasons for a week while they were just, fucking around down in Mexico. And it's so, that whole trip all in, let's say it cost him 10 grand. Who cares? You know what I mean?
It's a fraction. And that's why medical tourism is so big. I mean, we can talk about it just in plastic surgery realms, but in real healing, right? I mean, even here where we're doing things with, Ibogaine, right? I mean, people are going to Mexico. They're meeting the doctor here and then meeting at a hospital in Mexico. It's insane.
Yeah, exactly. And, one other thing I found out also is, you can go to Cuba.
Yeah.
And for even less money, you can get vaccines. And, they are, I think,
lung cancer vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, but I think if you now with the weak thing is that you have to take this Opdivo and Keytruda, you have to take it at least once per month. But probably you can lower this, and the Cubans, they call it vaccines. So you can probably lower it that you go there for each 6 months, something like that. And it's
interesting.
Pennies, what it costs.
So, and those things are the ones that people aren't going to mess with, right? Like Keytruda, that's for cancer, right? Like that's
Keytruda. I mean, that is it's an all-round stuff. But then you have a lot of new stuff now. You have, I mean, there are so many names. I cannot really.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, people are going to be like. You can tell people whatever price you want for Keytruda, and they're going to be like, okay,
so that's what it is. Yeah.
But for instance, it doesn't work really with prostate cancer and so on. And a lot of cancers we get today, we have found out, and not only we, but a lot of very famous institutions around the world. The first one was the Karolinska in Stockholm, in my home country. They found out that, biopsy for breast and for prostate, that was giving more.
Spreading it. I don't remember
the spreading, but it was, over 50% was caused by us humans, that we caused the cancer. Because I'm pretty good in prostate cancer, and I'm telling people, don't touch it. Never do whatever they say, like they make radiation. Radiation is only destructive. And you are just going to get times 10 problems afterwards. And don't do it. Instead, we are working on rejuvenating people, and we make blood flow. I mean, when you get old, you get low blood flow, and you have problems with erection, of penis and things like that. But
we just had that show last week.
We just had a doctor on last week about that.
Yeah.
So I mean, what we now have found is very, very simple way. You just have to get more nitric oxide into your blood flow. And, you can make miracles. I can talk for hours. We have such a good effect now. And I can increase testosterone, to full, really, to make a bull out of you in a couple of months. And so on. So, I mean, there are a lot of natural stuff, how you can handle all these things. But there is no money. It's almost free of charge.
So walk me through this though. Like I do the test with you, you guys figure out if I have any issues. So is the crux of the treatment basically bespoke to whatever your issue is, and then you guys are using sort of a more natural pathway for these things? Is that? I'm just trying to figure out the treatment side of this.
To avoid me to go to prison, The only way I can
we don't want that. Let's do the other thing. Yeah.
Let's say that it would be some synthetic stuff which would help, but I can't do that because of the legislation is such one that it's impossible. First of all, the dosage and so on, I cannot legally, at least not in Europe, and maybe, I know in the United States you are maybe not following exactly the rules, but here it's very tough that you immediately lose your MD license.
Licensure,
and so on. And the way how we have got around this, there is a worldwide convention, and it's we call it FSMP. It is short for Foods for Special Medical Purposes. Have you heard about that?
No.
But because the whole establishments in medicine, they hate it. Because, as it says, food for special medical purposes, that's natural. And the way how we can use it, for instance, in Europe, is there is a directive. In Europe they call it directives. Everything when it's a sort of a law, and very often it is like this, that the EU, they go after international convention. The same you have in China and most countries, Australia, and the US, everywhere. You can use this, but nobody's using it because it's no real money. And we use this because, nobody can stop us to give people healthy food.
Sure.
And the astronauts, they get it in tubes or in pills, the food, right? It's concentrated. Yeah. So what we do, we concentrate the food because, as Hippocrates said, you are what you eat. So it's a very simple way of doing this. So we are using natural stuff, but we concentrate it in small, simple pills, packages, and so on, make it very convenient for people. And that is a way how we add on, you can call it supplementation, we say FSMP, which is the more correct thing. And, for instance, in Europe, it's like this, that if I want to write as a doctor and to give someone more than 1 gram of vitamin C, I'm breaking the rules, because there is a recommendation saying that you can maximum give per day 1 gram of vitamin C. And we have found that either you have to use other antioxidants, which are expensive and it's not needed. We give people 8 grams each day. We normally make it 2, because if you take it too much, it is sometimes tough for your stomach if you don't eat.
Very tough, yeah.
Yeah, 8 grams is a lot of
vitamin C. 5 grams is kind of where I think that breaking point is, right? Where people start to get diarrhea and things like that.
Not so much diarrhea, but people generally have very high pH in their stomach, and if you have that, it's hard to break it down, and you get the feelings of that it's aching, or you can even feel that you want to throw up. So we try to never give anyone more than and together with foods then more than 2 grams. But that is a cornerstone, let's say, in our treatment, that we try all the time, because the key enemy is oxidation in our bodies, because of all processed and ultra processed food, that we are getting those inflammation. It's called metabolic syndrome inflammation. And nowadays in the Western world, 100% we are sick in metabolic syndrome diseases.
Oh yeah, no question, no arguments there.
Born as sick because we eat artificial stuff which God or whoever created this world never intended us to do. We were supposed, generally, from we are northern hemisphere, we are supposed to live on hunting and collecting, fungi, mushrooms, things like that, and berries when they are in the summertime, etc. I mean, like Indians were living, they were collecting, buffalo meat. They were drying it, and they were separating the tallow, and then they put some berries, cranberries, things like that into it, and they made like big bags, of skin, and then they kept it for the whole winter, and they made this mixture, and they were just eating that, and they never got sick.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's the way. I mean, the Indians were the last, let's say, from our latitudes here, let's say up northern hemisphere, they were the last, let's say, true eaters. They were eating what the nature gave, and then they never got sick, really. I mean, what they got sick was, they didn't have any protection against our, sicknesses, which we got, plagues and things like that. We got that because we were eating not healthy food. And people now start to understand all those Western things, all these terrible pests and other plagues from 13th, 12th century and so on. It's just created because we changed lifestyle, and that's why we got sick. A person living, as a hunter and a collector, I mean, he would die either from the cold, or somebody will kill him. And maybe, sometimes they would eat him because then he would be very healthy. He didn't have any, a lot of all those stuff inside what we have today.
Yeah, no, I've heard stories like, exactly. Yeah, microplastics and glyphosate. Yeah. But that's not different. I mean, Tom, if I ate you, I mean,
you don't want any of this.
It wouldn't be.
You don't want any of this. I got
different.
so much tattoo dye in me.
Yeah.
I mean, the same is you shouldn't eat too much pig meat, because pigs are close relatives to us, and
I've been called worse.
I mean, big farm. They put so much, stuff into them. The same like, salmons in Norwegian fjords. It's the best way to kill yourself, to eat such stuff. So we say normally you should never eat, let's say, pig meat more than once per week. And you should stay on beef and any kind of food which is where the animals are having 4 stomachs, and where they are, let's say, making through fermentation, they make microbiomes. So people think a cow eats grass. No, the cow is only eating microbiomes. So it is treating in its 4 stomachs. It's treating everything, so it only is left fiber plus microbiomes. And people don't know that, and that's why if you eat beef, you can be 100% sure beef meat cannot be poisoned unless you put it in after they are dead, which happens, of course, to make the weight, put a lot of liquid inside. This we never know what kind of stuff they put in. But if
so do you get picky about grass-fed versus grain finished and all that stuff?
I don't have any opinion about it, but I mean, in my opinion, it's okay. I have one opinion. It's very difficult to poison a living, let's say, cow, to poison that meat to be harmful for us. It's very difficult. So even if they eat unhealthy food, they still have to ferment it. So it means at the end it's going to be microbiomes. Like Japanese, they ferment, soy. They have these
fermented tofu, soy sauce,
like
tamari,
kikkoman and tofu and so on. They have this way of making, let's say, unhealthy food healthy. So the whole idea is to ferment. And the way how we try to tell our patients is eat beef as much as you can. You can, of course, once per day eat chicken, duck, pig, and so on once per week, etc. But stay with beef, and you can eat anything from a cow, and it can be sheep or whatever, and everything is healthy. And
you guys like eggs too a lot. I saw that you're
and of course eggs. Yeah, eggs. We always recommend to start the day with 4 or 5 eggs, and with floating yolks, because if you don't keep it floating, then you are losing 50% of all the good stuff there.
What's floating yolk mean?
So are you saying, we don't use that term? Is it like loose yolks? Sunny side up is what we would probably say.
Yeah, I mean sunny side, yes. But I have to use the more scientific wording with the floating yolk to, because you can make sunny side and you can make it hard, right? So I mean, it's a little bit dangerous. And you can also make, for instance, scrambled eggs. The following thing: all scrambled eggs is a waste of energy and all the nutrition you really need normal way, because you are frying it too much. But you can
denaturing the proteins in the yolk.
You separate the yolks, you fry the whites, and then you are pouring the yolks on, and you mix it. And those scrambled eggs are perfect.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I've tried this before, and I saw that you guys had eggs on this package, and I was like, yeah, I can't get my head around that. I really don't love yolks, but I hear what you're saying.
See, I can't stand them cooked. Like if you have like a hard fried egg, it doesn't taste. Right to me. It's very weird.
Oh no, I scramble the whole thing up and cook it all till it's done.
No, scrambled is one of my least favorite ways to eat them. I want sunny side up or over easy at heaviest.
But there are an egg. I mean, that's an embryo of that future bird. And birds, they have a lot of collagen. And if you are not leaving the, let's say, raw egg, the egg yolk, then I mean you are destroying all these things. Generally in the Western world, every one of us nowadays, we have very weak skin. Mm-hmm. And weak skin means also risk for melanoma, skin cancer and things like that. And by not frying, let's say, or in any way putting a temperature on the yolk above 60 degrees, then you get all those let's say ingredients you need to keep yourself in a perfect situation, because that embryo, that yolk, that is as you know, that is the future chicken and the hen. The white is just food for the chicken. So try to keep it floating, and you will see a lot of improvements in your bodies.
I will definitely try that. Like I said, it's a little bit hard for me. I just really don't love the taste, but I mean, I can get past the taste. I mean,
it doesn't have any taste at all. It's just that it's not it's you don't feel it.
It's a mouthfeel thing, I think.
Yeah, something like that. So, but really, I can assure you, the people who refuse to eat yolks this way and have these problems, I can't cure them. I must force them to eat yolks.
So is this like even with that, like that and any of the treatments you're doing, is this sort of like a treat until it's done, or is this sort of a lifestyle change where you're doing it all the time? Like what mixture of both?
It depends what is your goal. If your goal is to live at least 110 years, I mean, then you better do exactly what we tell, and you have to do it each day.
Right, I gotcha. Okay.
If you just want to get out of a tragic situation, depression or whatever, I mean, cancer, etc., and just get out of it and then get maybe another 10 years, I mean, then you can do the cure until you are, let's say, free from these problems.
Right.
And then you can stop it, but then you are going to get back in the same problem. And then now mainly the main problem is, people get dementia. And when you get dementia, you cannot take care of yourself. And then, you are lost forever. You have to be sharp to be able to stay alive.
Right. And we've had this, there's so many people, dementia and Alzheimer's seems to be quite the growing
population
issue in population now. I don't know if it's because people are older or if it's the plaque situation is triggered by things that we're doing to ourselves. I'm not really sure, but it does seem to be getting worse.
I mean, for me, all these things, it's so natural. It's so easy. If people have dementia, it's only one thing we must find out. It is if they've taken any of all those so-called, anti-dementia or whatever to cure synthetic stuff. Normally, the brain is destroyed. We can't cure such people. If they've never taken any synthetic stuff, in my opinion, we can cure. And of course, they have to be conscious enough to take these stuff, which we tell them. Because when people have dementia, they stop taking those supplementations, the FSMP and things like that. And they start eating wrong stuff. And then, we can't do anything. But if you are still enough conscious and you can direct yourself through and follow our guidelines, there is a guarantee we take away all dementia. No problem. But it's one thing we can't do. It is if you have myelin coverage, you have exons and it goes down in the spine and so on. There is a long-term memory. People don't know really. The scientists don't know exactly how it works, but roughly we know that if the myelin isolation is gone, then the old memories are disappearing.
And interesting. I've never heard that.
You can never get that back
unless you never regain the old memory.
You have to look at old pictures and maybe you had some videos and things like that. Then you can reprogram it again, or you can talk to friends. But then you get the version of your old memories, which will be your friend's version, right? So
our memories aren't tremendously
not tremendously accurate
anyway, so I'm not sure.
Okay, but some flavors we had of our own memories, they can be gone and we get another version. But anyhow, what is the fantastic thing? I didn't take care of my health. Let's say I started some 25 years ago to care a bit because I started to get dementia. I started to hear worse and so on. And, I'm a trained professional pilot when I was young, and I'm still flying my own plane and so on. And I started to feel very unsafe about 25 years ago. And I thought, is this the end? And so on. And I wanted to have another pilot with me when flying to difficult places. But what is the fantastic thing is when I started to change my lifestyle, my proficiency now in flying and also my medical checkups, they are getting better and better for each year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. And, when I have flight checks and so on, which I have to do once per year, there are guys sitting in the 45, 50s, and they look at me and say, what the hell? He's not supposed to be able to do this, because sometimes they turn the plane a bit around. I have to close my eyes so they cover, and then I have to sort out the situation. And for me, now it's easy peasy stuff. And I see on them how they sit. And, some, I think 2 years ago, normally they have remarks, they write protocols, because I have the Swedish license, and it's a little bit different. Because I have a US as well, and it's much easier. But,
no surprise.
But here, it's pretty tough, and especially if you have professional licenses, and they put remarks. And, to my surprise, once, the guy didn't put one single remark. And I said, it's not true. how it could be. So I mean, it has nothing to do with age. It's just you have to know how to rejuvenate yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, it will be interesting to know how much I can pull this. Can I pull it to 100, 110, 120 years, and so on? I think science now is going to make us to live about 120 years if we don't eat the stuff which they sell in supermarkets.
Yeah, they say, what is it, like there's 80,000 products in a grocery store and 79,000 of them will kill you.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I think even more, I think probably 79,000, at least 500.
Yeah. Hey, Doc, I don't want to cut this because it's been a very interesting conversation here, but we found that about the hour mark, people stop listening. How do we get in touch with you? How do we tell people at home to may want to work with you, look at the technology, all that stuff?
Okay, I mean, the one thing is they can find us at some web pages, for the quant coded stuff and let's say quantum medicine. It's dialadoctor.global. And it's
which I think is the funniest URL, by the way. Dial a Doctor has such a different connotation in the U.S. from what you guys are doing.
What you guys are doing.
I found that URL to be kind of funny. It's very easy to remember, on the other hand, so that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, the background is that we bought a company which was the oldest, home visit company in Australia. There you fly sometimes to clients with airplanes, and a lot of our doctors, they have airplane license and their own airplane, and so on. And so we let's say exported this we started to develop when I was living quite a long time in the US and so on, and we now have a sort of base in Hong Kong for this, and we are aiming now for the Chinese market, which we think is the big thing. But of course, we would like to conquer the US as well, at least from medical side of view.
Sure.
So, I mean, the best is that way, and there you can find contacts to us. You can send emails. We are working now on some subscription systems that people can be under constant contact with us, because the problem is to stay safe is that people don't understand what they can eat or not, and what they eat is the key issue. And then, in the beginning, it's very important, this foods for special medical purposes. But, on the longer run, you shouldn't need it. Many people, it takes up to 10 years to cure completely. But then, you can just eat like, for instance, Jordan Peterson and his daughter. They are living on what we call carnivore.
Right.
Yeah, so and I know Joe Rogan. He tried a bit, but I think he's not that stubborn. But Jordan Peterson and his daughter and now his wife, they have made a miracle with their health. Look how Jordan Peterson is looking more young for each year now.
Yeah, you almost can't tell he was addicted to benzos.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost died. And his family, they took him to Serbia to help him out. And he was almost dead, and they took him to Moscow to save his life. And he was lost completely until his daughter cured herself. She also was killing herself. And then they found this, she's calling it the lion diet, and they don't think that you need to take supplementation, but I mean, they seem to be lucky and they got out of it. Maybe they are in secrecy taking,
something.
Don't know. Because
they're taking their vitamin C in between their Botox and their. Yeah.
I mean, you never know. But, if you are in the commercial business, like she is with her lion diet and so on, I mean, she has to look good and so on. So,
Yeah.
So we know it. Okay.
Well, Doc, I'm very excited to try this out. We're going to post back afterwards. I'd love to keep in touch just because you got such a great technology. And I think you really represent a whole new sort of vein of research and curiosity for guys like Tom and I, because, I think we've gotten to that layer. Like we've just keep peeling layers back and trying to get to the truth. And this is just another thing that I'm excited to play with.
The big problem is, to get our message through, because it's not simple. And I'm working now with a guy, maybe Mike Kleppers. He's an American guy. He's living in Poland, and we are trying now with a guy in Mexico. His name is Roy. We are trying now to set up a new way, and we using AI. We have pretty good results now. We have made an AI doctor, and I was shocked about. First of all, I couldn't recognize even that he is an AI.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Then the knowledge, we put all our knowledge. We stopped everything to program outside our sphere. Only allowed, the doctors around us, like Ken Berry in Nashville and things like that. And, this doctor, he's the most clever doctor, I think, in the world now. And
we have another doc coming on to talk about AI primary care physician.
So we want to try now to launch this, but we have to look, at a lot of rules, regulations, and so on. We have to be careful, even if he's the most clever doctor in the world, that we don't make any scandals around it.
Yeah, very true.
Cool. Well, Doc, great coming on. Thank you so much for your time. Hang out when we hit stop, but otherwise, thank you so much.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
Get the message out, and
we're going to try
direct emails and so on. If someone is interested, just send personal emails to me.
You got it.
I'm on WhatsApp as well. I'm of course on WeChat, in China.
In China,
it's called Weixin in Chinese.
The whole world uses WhatsApp except for us. like everyone else uses it.
Okay,
I mean, it's
okay, great,
cool.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Enjoy the weekend, and thanks again.
You too, guys. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye. Great meeting you.
Great.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.